To a new camper in our midst, Louis the Swan. He is a trumpeter swan, a rare bird. We are lucky to have him. I have employed him at the same salary I pay my junior counselors, $100 for the season. I wonder how much that was in 1970. He is gentle and has a speech defect. He came here from Montana with Sam Beaver. Louis is a musician. Like most musicians, he is in need of money. He will wake you at daybreak with his trumpet. He will call you to your meals. And at night, when you are dropping off to sleep, he will play taps. And that will bring the day to a close. I caution you to treat him as an equal, and to treat him with respect. He packs a terrific wallop with one of those wings. I now introduce, for your listening pleasure, Louis the Swan. Take a bow, Louis. Louis was embarrassed, but he came forward and bowed. Then he raised his trumpet to his mouth and blew a long ko. When he finished, from the opposite shore of the lake there came the echo. Ko-hoo! The boys clapped. Louis bowed again. Sam Beaver, sitting with the others, his mouth full of marshmallow, was delighted that his plan had succeeded. At the end of the summer, Louis would have $100. A boy named Applegate Skinner stood up. Mr. Brickle, he said, what about me? I don't care for birds. I never liked birds. Okay, Applegate, said Mr. Brickle. You don't have to like birds. If that's the way you feel about it, just go ahead not liking birds. Everyone is entitled to his likes and dislikes and to his prejudice. Come to think of it, I don't care for pistachio ice cream. I don't know why I don't like it, but I don't. Do not forget, however, that Louis is one of your counselors. Whether you like him or not, he must be treated with respect. One of the new boys who had never been to camp before stood up. Mr. Brickle, he said, why is the camp called Camp Cuckoo-Scoos? What does Cuckoo-Scoos mean? It's an Indian name for the great horned owl, replied Mr. Brickle. The new boy thought about this for a minute. Then why didn't you just call it Camp Great Horned Owl instead of Camp Cuckoo-Scoos? Because, replied Mr. Brickle, a boy's camp should have a peculiar name. Otherwise it doesn't sound interesting. Cuckoo-Scoos is a terrific name. It is a long word, but it has only 3 letters in it. It has 2 S's, 3 K's, and 6 O's. You don't find many names as kooky as that. You don't. The queerer the name, the better the camp. Anyways, welcome to Camp Cuckoo-Scoos. It rhymes with moose. That's another good thing about it. And now it's time for everybody to go to bed. You may take a swim before breakfast tomorrow, and you don't need to wear your swim trunks. Just jump out of bed when you hear the trumpet of the swan. Strip off your pajamas, race to the dock, and dive in. Skinny dipping? I will be there ahead of you to do my celebrate backflip from the diving tower. It freshens me for the hard day ahead. Good night, Louis. Good night, Sam. Good night, Applegate. Good night, all. The light was fading. The boys staggered off to their tents in the darkness. The senior counselors sat together on the porch and smoked one last pipe. Sam crawled in under his blankets in tent 3. Louis walked to a high, flat rock by the shore and stood there waiting. When the lights were all out, he faced the camp, raised his horn to his mouth, and blew taps. Day is done. Gone the sun. From the lake, from the hills, from the sky. All is well, safely rest. God is nigh. Or high. The last note seemed to linger on the still waters of the lake. From their beds, the boys heard the beautiful sound. They felt sleepy and serene and happy. All but Applegate Skinner, who didn't care for birds at bedtime. But even Applegate was soon asleep, along with the others in his tent. He was asleep, and he was snoring. People who dislike birds often snore. I didn't know that. A deep peace fell over Camp Cuckoo-Scoos. To be continued.